for Muslims on self-improvement. This is a commentary on the video posted by Hamza titled What It Really Takes to Win, broken down into sort of practical steps that you and I can actually do, and then I conclude with a hadith that I believe quite nicely ties everything together. That being said, point number one, doing more or not doing more, instead doing less. Now this concept, I've heard this before. I'm not sure if it was from Alex or Mose. It could have been from Hamza himself. But the concept is basically, it speaks about how those who are ahead of you, oftentimes we think they know more, they're doing more. And yes, in a roundabout way, that is true. But fundamentally, where it starts is they're doing less. Doing less of what? Well, they're doing less of the things that are non-productive. They're doing less. They're being distracted less, essentially, is what it is. You know, they're spending less time scrolling through their phones. Let's just give that example. They're spending less time playing video games. I mean, we were referring to those who are ahead of you. So that's step number one. Stop trying to do more. Instead, how about look at the things that are non-productive that you're currently doing. Maybe do less of those and see where that gets you. Step number two, incorporate a routine and a schedule. And Hamza speaks about this concept of brain points, which I'm not sure if he made up himself or he got somewhere else, but he speaks about this concept of brain points. It's almost like, I interpret it as like energy for your brain. Throughout the day, your body only has a certain amount of energy, and as you continue to exert yourself and you do more, that energy runs, right? And towards the end of the day, you're going to have less energy, which is making you tired and so on. Obviously, you can replenish your energy. Anyway, it's a different conversation, but that's how this whole brain point things work. At least that's how I understand the brain points concept. Because it speaks about how you start the day with a certain amount of brain points, and as you exert your mind, as you get into deep thinking, as you solve deep problems and issues, and you go through processes of critical thinking, your brain points diminish, and it diminishes. And the practical step of incorporating routine and a strict schedule, essentially it makes so that you get to spend less time, or you get to use less brain points on the things that are maybe not exactly conducive or actually taking you to where you need to get to in terms of your goals and your objectives. So if you have a routine, you have it set up, just follow that, and so therefore you have more brain points to actually focus on the actual issues at hand that you want to, that's going to be used to progress you, make you better. Focus on the specific thing that actually matters, rather than, oh, what am I going to wear today, or oh, what am I going to eat today, or what time am I going to do this. And because those will take away brain points, causing you to become mentally fatigued. Anyway, that was point number two. Step number three, or point number three, is identifying, and I probably should have said this ahead of point number one and number two, but anyway, point number three is identifying exactly what your goals and objectives are. Identifying exactly what you want, because you really can't do step number one and two without number three, right? Because to do step number one of stop doing more, do less, you kind of need to fundamentally understand where you're trying to get to. What are your goals? What do I need to do less of? What do I need to do more of that's actually getting me to where I want to get to? Also, you can't obviously do step number two either. incorporate a schedule and a routine with what on it. What do I need to be doing? What do I not need to be doing? What needs to be in there consistently? What needs to be taken out of the schedule and the routine? So identify what you want, what you're trying to achieve, and optimize a life that's going to get you there. So make sure that you actually taking steps towards those goals, because it's one thing we can all sit here and say, I want this, I want to achieve that, I wish I had this. The question really becomes, what are you working towards? Because the person that wants lots of money versus the person who wants lots of money and doesn't work for it, and the person who doesn't want money and obviously doesn't work for it, they technically find themselves in the same boat on a practical level. They're both not working towards making more money. So identify what you want and actually work towards it. And point number 4, I guess this isn't actually a practical step, but it's a beautiful mindset to look at this whole idea of, what it takes to win, is that if you don't work for what you want, I like the term taking something. If you don't take what you want, someone else will. And look, taking something in this context is essentially like earning something or working towards something, sacrificing for something that you want. If you don't do it, someone else is going to. Right? It's that simple. You don't want to work hard in your exams and your tests. Someone else will. Someone else will get top of your class. You don't want to work towards that business, making more money. It's okay. Someone else will. And someone else will take the money that you would have earned. You don't want to work towards even from a spiritual perspective, you don't want to work towards bettering your relationship with Allah. You don't want to work towards putting yourself in a better position on the day of judgment. Someone else is going to do what's necessary, and someone else is going to take the place. Obviously, from a spiritual perspective, technically, someone else exerting themselves spiritually doesn't exclude you. You always have the opportunity to come back and also put yourself there. But the point stands is that other people are just gonna do what's necessary, and they're gonna take the things that you want. So that's point number 4. And then the hadith, and I think there's many routes you can take, there's many paths you can take to maybe, and I agree that there's probably a hadith or Quran verses that maybe are more relevant and probably work better here. But one of the hadith that came to mind was aqilha wa tawakkal, right? Tie it and rely upon Allah. This comes from a hadith where Sahaba came to the Prophet, and I don't claim to be knowledgeable. This is from what I recall. Hadith, Sahaba came to the Prophet, asked the Prophet, he needed to basically separate from his camel, and the question was, should I tie the camel first and then put my trust in Allah that it won't sort of run away or go astray, or should I just leave it and put my trust in Allah? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, tie it and then rely upon Allah. And so, again, not claiming to be a scholar or anything of that nature, but I think put simply, when I read it, what I understand is you need to do what you need to do first. Take the actionable steps, make an effort, put sacrifice, work hard towards something, and then put your trust in Allah. There's 2 aspects of it. Don't just work hard, put your trust in Allah, rely upon Allah, know that Allah is going to give you what you want. But point number 2, don't just rely upon Allah. Don't just sit at home and say, make dua, I want this, I want that. It's like, okay, practically in this world, what are you actually doing to try and get there? You're doing nothing. Well, you expect to just fall from the sky or what? that being said, you know, tie your camel first, do what needs to be done, and then put your trust in Allah that He'll sort out the rest. And that's that.